Good morning. Thank you for coming. It is truly an honor to be here this morning to celebrate the launch of the Apprenticeship Program. My name is Mark Davis, and I'm president of WDC Solar. WDC Solar is a Washington, D.C.-based solar developer. We're also one of the apprenticeship grant recipients. Since 2009, we have focused on providing green job training and green jobs for young men and women in our community. I would like to thank the members of our staff, our partners, and legal team who worked through the years to make this company a viable part of our community. Today, it's about the district's young men and women and the opportunity they are being provided through this program. As many of you know, solar energy is one of the fastest growing industries in the country. Proper training programs like the one being introduced today will ensure these individuals will have the skills necessary to gain and maintain employment in this rapidly growing industry. Over the years, our mayor's strong leadership and commitment to the environment have made Washington, D.C. a leader in the deployment of solar energy. Washington, D.C. solar programs serves as an example for many communities around the country looking to increase the use of solar energy. Mayor Bowser has ensured the industry's continued growth in this city with solar programs at DOEE, DGS, and other government agencies. Her commitment to providing job training and jobs has taken many young men and women off the streets and put them on payrolls. As the solar industry continues to grow, it is Mayor Bowser's commitment and leadership that will ensure this growth for many years to come. Thank you, Mayor Bowser, and we look forward to working with you on this and other initiatives as we move forward to making Washington, D.C. the greenest city in America.
Thank you so much. Let's give Mark a big round of applause, and good morning, everybody. This is Labor Day week in Washington, D.C., or D.C. Works Week, as we have called it. And we are really focused on how we assist more D.C. residents in finding, maintaining good-paying jobs and building great careers. And there's only one reason for that, and that's to make sure that more people can really find their pathway to the middle class. When I go around Washington, everybody is excited about the progress, right? We see cranes, we see restaurants, people moving in, buying houses, renting great apartments, going to wonderful pools and playgrounds and schools where more kids are graduating and getting better grades. That's good stuff. That's good stuff in Washington. But people are also very focused on making sure that they have a place in that prosperity. It's one thing to build prosperity, but it's one thing not to be able to participate in it. And that has been the focus of our 2.5 years in office. So let me start by thanking you for that trust that you've put in me and the team that we've built in Washington, D.C. I am extremely proud of the competent leaders that we've been able to attract to the Bowser administration. So give them a big round of applause. I want to acknowledge our council member at large, Alyssa Silverman, whose committee oversees our workforce development efforts. So give her a big round of applause. Let me give a few more thank yous to Colette Defoe, who is the managing partner here at Nixon Peabody. Thank you, Colette, and Jeff Lesk, and all of your partners and associates for welcoming us here today. We are also joined by our deputy mayor for greater economic opportunity, and it is her whole job to make sure this government is focused on investing in people and places where the government hasn't been in too long. So, Deputy Mayor Snowden, thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge our outstanding director for the Department of Employment Services, Odie Donald. Thank you, Odie, for being here. And Lewis Brown, who is our director of apprenticeships. Thank you, Lewis, for your work here today as well. So let me give you a few facts about what we're here to talk about, and I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor and Odie to talk about all of the specifics of what we're doing around apprenticeships. But here's a number that we talk about quite a lot, and that's about how the unemployment rate has dropped in the District of Columbia in the last 2.5 years. We saw some of the biggest drops in Ward 7 and 8. And while it's been a drop of 1.1% citywide, it has been more than 3 percentage points in some of our toughest hit areas. So that is something we're very grateful for. The drops, I'm told, and I paused on this number because I hadn't seen it this high yet, but the drops were 8.5% and 6.2% in Wards 7 and 8. Is that right? Okay. So let me tell you how we got there, because you have probably heard me say before that, and I know you have, Judge Terrell, that I don't believe in training programs where we're training people for jobs that don't exist. So it has been our focus to target our training and make sure we are adequately accessing our people and getting those skills to match the jobs that exist. In April, for example, we launched with PEPCO the Quick Path to Energy program, which prepares DC residents for jobs in the utilities industry. Yesterday, we were with a number of partners that represent, I was trying to add it up in my head, probably $30 billion of work that has to happen over the next 10 years when you look at WMATA and PEPCO and Washington Gas and DC Water. I'm sure a number of you can tick off what that means. WMATA, $25 billion. I think DC Water is about $4 billion. PEPCO must be about $1 or $2 billion. And Washington Gas, I think there's several hundred millions of dollars of infrastructure work that are going to happen in DC. That's not even to mention what you heard Mark talking about, and that is our focus on making sure we're the greenest city in the world. And you may have heard that we were called, because we earned it, the first LEED Platinum city in the world. And that is because of a focus of a lot of people, our legislator, leaders in all of our advocacy groups. We put the policies in place and the money behind making sure we're investing in our built infrastructure, but also in residents being able to make good decisions about their energy use. And a lot of jobs will continue to develop around it. We can see just in our news in our world today, we have a big storm hit Houston. Now, biggest storm that's developing now in the Atlantic, putting people in the Caribbean now, but certainly along our Atlantic coast in harm's way. We used to call these 100-year or 500-year storms, and already we've had 2 in the space of a month. So making our city more resilient has to be the focus for all of us. And I don't care what anybody down the street says, Washington, D.C. is committed to that goal. And what better way to take care of our environment and our infrastructure and give D.C. residents jobs? That's a good day in Washington, D.C. And that's exactly what the Apprenticeship Initiative is about. So Apprenticeship DC is a work-based learning initiative, and it's going to be administered by our Department of Employment Services. Thank you, DOES. The initiative will promote both pre-apprenticeship and registered apprenticeship work-based learning models in DC. And I can't tell you the number of times that I go out to community meetings and people ask me, well, what about our vocational programs? Or what about apprenticeships? How are we training people for jobs? And the reason people ask that is because they feel like some of that has been lost and our residents aren't being trained in the trades and the skills that are still very much needed in cities like ours. So Apprenticeship DC has been funded with about $400,000 in grants it will provide to local businesses and community-based organizations that target 3 high-demand areas for jobs in our city: information technology, construction, and, of course, infrastructure. There were grants grants awarded to Simple Technology Solutions in the information technology industry, and we're looking forward to working with you. The Community Services Agency of the AFL-CIO's construction industry, and WDC Solar in the infrastructure component of the program. So we want to congratulate our grant recipients and focus on achieving more and more results. What we know about apprentices is that after they complete their programs, 90% of them find permanent employment, and that employment will get them a salary of at least $60,000 per year. And those are the types of numbers that we need to be focused on. So today, and I know Director Donald is going to talk to you a little bit more about this because we have really been focused on changing the numbers for the city. There are 1,100, just over almost 1,200 active apprentices in the nation's capital, with the highest concentration of those apprentices being from Wards 7 and 8. What Director Donald told me as I was coming in is that we've doubled the number of DC residents that make up those 1,185 in the last 2.5 years. And then I want to ask myself, why can't it be 100% DC residents? So we'll keep working on that. We know that for every dollar invested in apprenticeships, employers get approximately $1.50 return on that investment. So we want to do all that we can to build more opportunities, work with more companies that provide these opportunities, and direct more DC residents to participate in them. So I want to thank you for being here, recognizing that this is just one series of things that we are doing to get more DC residents working. And it is working. It is working. And there is more to be done. So let me introduce now Deputy Mayor Snowden.
Well, good morning. And it is a good morning, and I'm going to tell you why it's a good morning. We, in January of 2015, I used to say DOES was an agency that people looked down upon. It was an agency that I might say, with our friends from the Department of Labor, might say, we're one of the worst workforce systems in the country. Right? I met with them maybe 3 years ago. Rachel and I were just talking about this from the Department of Labor. I want to give a shout out to all our friends from the Department of Labor who are here. Can you just raise your hand, give them a round of applause? They're doing some really hard work. But I sat with them almost 3 years ago, and I said, look, this is a commitment I can make on behalf of our mayor, that if you invest in us, we will turn this ship around. And they raised an eyebrow, Mayor, and they looked at me and they said, I don't know about that, right, Rachel? But I said, well, look, let's talk about apprenticeships. This mayor has made a commitment to apprenticeships. She said to me, we are going to fix this workforce system. We don't want to be the worst in the nation. We want to be the best in the nation, and that is your job to get that done. Okay. And so we started a long conversation with the Department of Labor. The first step was a trip to South Carolina, where I was the only representative from a city that joined them on that trip to look at how apprenticeships were changing the environment in South Carolina, how they were working incredibly hard to diversify the types of apprenticeships that were being offered, but more importantly, they were getting young people into good quality apprenticeship programs. They were getting people who were coming back to work after some time. They were getting grandparents who were raising children into apprenticeships and turning them into high-earning employees. And I thought, well, we could do that maybe. I think we could do that, right, Rachel? And so we did. Thank you, Judge Terrell. And so we did. I came back here and I talked to DOES at the time, and I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to invest in apprenticeships. And they gave me a pretty scary number. We had about 6,000 apprentices in the District of Columbia, but only 600 were district residents. What? That doesn't make any sense. And so what we did was we took the time to develop a real plan. We strengthened the Apprenticeship Council, and we thought about how we could diversify apprenticeships beyond construction. That's a big deal. Why? Because in Europe, every job is apprenticeable. And we wanted to create that right here in the District of Columbia. So I went back to Rachel and our friends at the Department of Labor, and I said, I think we need some money to get this done. And they gave us a $150,000 grant to help create a stronger apprenticeship program here in the District of Columbia, and what we're calling a statewide apprenticeship program with Apprenticeship Works. And now we have actually 1,200 apprentices in this program that are district residents preparing for good-paying, high-paying jobs that will allow them to stay right here in the District of Columbia and take advantage of all that great affordable housing that the mayor is committed to building. Applaud that. That's a big deal. Applaud that. The mayor talked about the significant decrease in unemployment, particularly in Ward 7 and Ward 8. And I'll tell you, that didn't happen by wishing. It didn't happen by sitting there thinking to ourselves, gosh, if we just put people in AJCs and send some people into those buildings, we'll get people connected to jobs. That's not how we did it. The mayor charged us with being intentional, with really focusing our energy and effort on making sure we were developing the types of programs that our residents could take advantage of. And in particular, some of the residents who had the most barriers to employment. Well, this today represents a huge step to getting that done, to helping us achieve that goal. And I could not be more proud of the work that is happening at DOES. Let's see if you had your coffee this morning. When I first got here, I used to say DOES doesn't, but now it does. And now it does. Come on, that was good. No? Okay. Now it does. And I get to welcome a colleague who I work with every single day. I'm grateful for the leadership that he's exhibited, the fast transformation that we have seen in the agency and in our workforce system. And he's going to get to tell you a little bit about the fantastic work that we have done to stand this program up, because I'm telling you, we are every single day changing lives. When we talk about the unemployment number, we're not talking about just a number, right? We're talking about Malik, who introduced the mayor yesterday, who didn't have a job and is now on his way to making a 6-figure income in the electrical industry. That's huge. That's huge. And it's because of that intentional focus that we were able to do that. I can tell you about young people who the day before were at funerals, a year ago at funerals for their friends, and today are not only working, but they're on the way to buying their own home at 23 years old. That is the intentionality of the work that we've been doing. And I want to thank the mayor for the opportunity to do this work in our hometown, because it means a lot. And I'm going to welcome Director Donald up here.
Well, I guess I always start off by just saying, man, I love being in D.C. Just being from the South, knowing a little bit about Apprenticeship South Carolina and some of the things that they've done, and hearing the deputy mayor talk about the trip that USDOL made down south to look at apprenticeships. Well, now, you don't have to do that anymore. You can do it right here in your backyard. And so excited to see so many of them here supporting us, which is very different, than the environment that we had a while ago. And so that's just not only a testament to our mayor, but also just the strength, willingness, and resiliency of the District of Columbia. And so we're excited to launch Apprenticeship DC, and to be a little bit more technical and tell you about it is that the state of the District of Columbia is a statewide apprenticeship partner. And so what that means is that any business is able to come to DOES, and we're able to help you develop your apprenticeship standards, identify what type of sponsor you want to be, what type of employees you need, the appropriate rate of pay. And now, thanks to our partners at the Department of Labor and the WIOA statute, we are now also able to assist you in funding apprentices. And so that's a very big deal, because we are not only able to support these businesses and hiring apprentices, we're able to make sure that our residents are able to earn as they learn. So that pathway to the middle class starts from day one. And so that's very exciting. And so I think one area that I'd really like to highlight is I think that we have kind of taken some of our apprenticeship partners, like the AFL-CIO, who, labor does a lot of quality training in the construction industry, which is separate from our overall infrastructure industry, but still frame out construction for all of the cranes, as the mayor likes to say, that are hanging up in the sky, but also connected to our infrastructure work, transportation, but these diverse new industries is something that there really nobody else in the country doing. So IT, healthcare, hospitality are all apprenticeable areas, and now we'll be able to help create a brand new entry point for our residents to enter. And so for that, I'm super excited to have the opportunity to serve under our mayor and coordinate that. And I think I'm excited that we're launching Apprenticeship DC with all of these wonderful partners, especially those in labor. And with that, I'd love to kind of invite our partners over to take a couple of pictures so we can really make sure we frame the moment. So with that, if we can have our grantees move over to the step and repeat.
Chairman.